The cult of the Black Cube, better known as the Saturn Death Cult. The global elite worships the dark side of the planet Saturn and uses occult symbols in modern institutions, and it's been going on since creation.
Yeah.
Basically started with the fallen angels, and it all revolves around the god Saturn. But this god is also the god Baal, the god Molech.
Oh gosh.
And is prevalent in basically every ancient and modern satanic.
Saturn is Satan.
They think it translates from Satan. And the astrology Capricorn, the primary thing in that is Saturn, which is a goat. But the black cube, I'm like, where's the black cube come into this? There's like this dark spot on the top of Saturn that is in the shape of a hexagon. And if you take the hexagon and you make it a three-dimensional, it makes a cube. What was crazy, if you go to basically any major financial district, they all have a monument of a black cube.
No way.
They believe that they're able to tap into this realm or this deity to be able to enslave the masses. And so the Federal Reserve was based off of that. So it would be slave to debt. JP Morgan, very involved in the Federal Reserve, he has this quote: millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
I've never heard that one.
But one thing I immediately popped in my head was BlackRock.
Literally.
They are the number one
in plain
corporation that have the majority wealth in the world.
It is yours, and you do have a decision to make. So because you own that 45%, I created a pledge. And the pledge is that you love the ocean. And when you say, yes, you love the ocean, you receive a digital passport. And the passport is how I connect you to the global commons. And it's how I then go to the United Nations and say, yes, we have X thousand people who care enough that signed in, that got a passport, and then shared it with 1, 2, 3, 100, 1,000, 1 million of their friends. And we are going to create a global community, because I don't see the things that divide us. Normally what divides us, creed, color, caste, religion, sex, age. I don't see those things. I see us as one species with one home and one common destiny. And I don't see multiple oceans. I don't see the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Mediterranean. I see one ocean, because ultimately everything is connected, as we are. But if we don't participate in it, we don't use social media, which is the new tool for connecting each and every one of us and connecting us and our friends across the globe, we're not going to make it. So we have other tools for engagement on the site, which is how I tried to grow the site. So because you do own the ocean, I wanted, and I worked with Google on this, who would help me start this project. You can actually sponsor and own a piece of the ocean. Obviously, I'm not selling the ocean. It's only a digital representation, but you get to buy a piece of the ocean on here. You get to tell a story about it, and you get to share that story about why that piece of the ocean specifically is important to you. Google creating the same as Google Street under the ocean, so that you can dive across the globe and dive underneath and see what goes on. And I have multiple areas that you can dive under the ocean and have this extraordinary 3D image that's fully 360 degrees and look where you're going to dive. And eventually there will be many more of these places. So when you decide you want to go to visit some place in Bali, or you want to go to Monterey, or wherever you want to go, you should be able to go see what am I going to see in the ocean. And frankly, if you don't like diving, you don't like the sea, you can go and have a look at it. It's so gorgeous. It's almost as good as going there. This little chap with a little beacon on his head. So the other thing that I do is I take data and I put it on the site. So you can tag the animals. So part of knowing what's happening in our world is knowing what's happening to the sea creatures that are there. Part of knowing what's happening to the sea creatures, you have to monitor them. So here we have tracking devices. This particular one's done out of Stanford. And on the map, we don't currently have this on the site, but it's coming. You'll be able to track your animals and see when they come to visit you in whatever ocean parcel you have, or see where they are around the world. Of course, we're across every social media platform, Twitter, Facebook, Google, to connect across multiple newspaper called the Daily Cat. Play, what sea creature are you? Go to the Terramar. So what can we do? I'm going to wrap up very fast here. I'd like to suggest that maybe we should be bold, and we should be, on top of all the things that we know, maybe you should think of some strange things. So I'd like to propose 2 solutions. One is a currency, a digital currency for social good based on our joint ownership of the global commons, which would place a value on fish never previously placed before, and use all the profits to go back in to pay for things that governments have a hard time paying for. And the second thing that I would like to propose is that we all jointly own our global commons. We own 45% of the planet. It is ours. And though each and every one of us here are represented by a company or a country, we all each have an individual stake and interest in this. And so I think becoming citizens of our global commons, coming together in one united community around our shared love and need of the ocean might also be that. And I am part of the Terramar project. I invite you all to get your passport so that you become not only citizens of where you're from, but you also become joint citizens of land and sea, because we all have a stake and an interest in this, and we need to connect to it in a new way. Thank you.
Freaky Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition is for a second. This is a screenshot of a segment from her deposition, but check this out. They ask her, "Are you a citizen of the United States?" And she responds, "I am." "Are you also a citizen of England?" they ask, and she answers, "I am." But this is where it kind of gets strange. They then ask, "Are you a citizen of any other land?" And she responds, "Terramar." Now, Terramar obviously isn't a land or a country, and yet Ghislaine Maxwell responds in such a way that indicates that it is. Now, maybe she was just joking or being kind of snarky, but given the hot water that she was currently in, I doubt she'd be joking around a lot. So what is Terramar exactly? We know that Terramar was a sustainable ocean development plan where multiple countries would sign up to help protect a portion of the ocean. That's at least what it is on paper. We know that Jeffrey Epstein provided funding for it, and the Clinton Foundation supported it by featuring it on their website. But we don't know really what it actually accomplished. It had no offices. It was basically just a shell company in a way. But despite its origins, purpose, and accomplishments being a bit of a mystery, some very powerful and influential people signed up to support Terramar. For instance, here's Richard Branson tweeting out in November 9th, 2012, "Want to help save the ocean? Join us and become Terramar Project citizens." And note that he uses the word citizens. Now, before you go saying that this was just bad luck on Branson's part, he had no idea what Ghislaine was doing or anything like that. Jeffrey Epstein was already arrested years before that in 2007, so it's not by chance that he publicly decides to endorse the Terramar Project, which was created by Epstein's best friend and recruiter. And like I said previously, with Branson, it gets a little fishy because Richard Branson owns an island not far from Epstein's island, Little St. James, and he hosted the Nexium sex cult on his island. This is documented public knowledge, as you can see from this headline here. Richard Branson with Nexium. Billionaire says he knew nothing about Rainier, who was the founder of Nexium. So I guess it's just really bad luck with Richard Branson, right? He endorses one trafficker's project, Terramar, and just accidentally hosts a cult party on his island. Right. Terramar also endorsed Migaloo. Migaloo is a company that constructs yachts that can transform into submarines. Look, all I'm saying is it's a little freaky. We have a trafficker that owns an island next to another guy that owns an island pretty close to his that endorses trafficking, and they have the capability to remain undetected by traveling under the water if they so chose. And the real icing on the cake, guys, is one of the founding sponsors of the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children is Richard Branson, the guy that endorsed Ghislaine Maxwell's Terramar Project and hosted a cult party on his island. P.S. The same guy that designed the Terramar logo created Barack Obama's Hope and Change poster, too.
These are entities that are here on this earth, that have been on this earth, that who knows how long, and that we think they're coming in from way out. Maybe they did millennial ago, but they're here, and they're in these deep water areas. And that's why, I mean, like we say, we know more about the face of the moon than we do what's going on there. Now, we have a higher propensity of sightings around these 5 or 6, I believe, deep water areas. And so to me, it just it creates a question there. And then when we have naval personnel telling me that we have these sightings and that there's these underwater craft they're chasing that are doing hundreds of miles an hour, and the best we've got is something that does maybe just a little under 40 miles an hour. So I got a lot of questions about that.
ID has arrived in Australia, so should you be worried about being tracked? I'm Dr. Jo Orlando. Let me unpack it for you. So far, it's just in New South Wales and it's a trial only. So if you want to volunteer, you need to be 16 and over. You do a face scan. That's matched against another ID, like your driver's license, and you're in. So far, it's only being used for toll rebates, but they've already said a whole lot more services will be added. So what about the tracking part? So when you use it at this point, your face scan data is deleted, but what's kept is an activity log of where you've used it, the date, the time, the purpose, the location, and that activity log is passed over to the government. So it's not like a GPS tracking you or an ankle bracelet, but it is a record of your activity. A lot of people tell me it's not about them doing something wrong. They just want to protect their privacy. And then, of course, there's the face scan data. If that's stolen, it's an issue, as our faces are increasingly being used to unlock services like Medicare, driver's license, voting, that kind of thing. Well, stolen face scan data can be used for those purposes. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on the introduction of this trial?
We now have solid proof of non-humans walking around us right now. But what are they? And oddly enough, it's around Buckingham Palace, same exact place that we always hear abnormal stories. Now shout out to this girl and this guy up here for the ones who brought this story forward. In just a minute, we'll see the guards, and they'll have no thermal signature whatsoever. They come back as cold, but you can see all the normal people around full of color, like any normal human should be. Also used in the military when they're trying to pick up heat signals. The Buckingham Palace guards have always been under heavy scrutiny for how just weird and unhuman they are. Well, look beside the doors right here where we have both humans, and guess what? They are cold as can be. This is some crazy stuff. Here's an image blowing up. You can see the windows and all the areas behind them are obviously emitting heat, but they aren't. They're just straight up cold. We all know the movie They Live, right? It's just funny because we always hear first-hand testimony accounts of being in Buckingham Palace and seeing things super weird and completely unrelated, not relevant whatsoever. We do know that reptiles, just made me think of them, are cold-blooded. They wouldn't really be emitting any kind of heat signature, you know? Now, as I just said earlier, these guards are always under heavy scrutiny. There's even times where, like, how are they even living out there? It's so hot, and they'll give them water. Also, people come out and say that they just act non-human for some reason, but nobody knows why. On to a totally different subject, the background's just for your attention, not real. Did you know in those files that just dropped, there's a whole section about the Illuminatis and these royal families? Also, do y'all remember when the guy was climbing out the window at Buckingham Palace? The scary part is this is not just NPCs around us, it's a whole nother ballgame. What do y'all think these are?
About the woman that donated a human skull to Goodwill. I saw this on a local Facebook page and immediately had to go and fact check it because what do you mean? First of all, why do you even have that? And secondly, why do you think giving it to Goodwill would be a good idea? So I had to look it up to verify it, right? And when I did, I saw that they still don't know who this woman is. They have security footage of her walking into a Goodwill store in Chelsea, Michigan back on January 26th and then getting into a vehicle and leaving with another woman who drove her there. A little while later, Goodwill called police just before 2 p.m. to tell them that something suspicious had been donated there. And when police got there, they saw what appeared to be a human skull wrapped in a t-shirt. Now, investigators think that the woman may have donated the skull by accident because it was included among a whole bunch of other donated items. So police took the skull from Goodwill and had it taken to a medical examiner who said they're pretty sure that it is real and that it is a human skull, but they had it sent off to the University of Michigan for further analysis, which is a process that takes about 90 days. So because police don't know the identity of this woman, they put out a description of her and the vehicle she was last seen in. They say that she is in her late 40s to early 50s with shoulder-length brown hair and that she was with another woman of the same description and that the two of them left the store in a dark gray 4-door SUV.
That Courtney Love's mom, Linda Carroll, was a psychotherapist in California's therapy culture during the 60s and the 70s. Linda was a practitioner of humanistic and transpersonal psychology, which was popular at the time. You know who else was interested in humanistic and transpersonal psychology in California at that time? A little place called Esalen Institute. This institute was full of the top names in cutting-edge psychology for the time. The co-founders were Michael Murphy and Dick Price, who met at Stanford.
You know, Stanford, the major MK subcontract hub. And P.S., they were there during that time period. We also had Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. They were large influences and contributors to the Esalen Institute. I heard about these guys when I was taking child psychology classes. Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all of that. They both heavily influenced schools in the U.S. And Aldous Huxley, among others. Huge influence to Michael Murphy. He also just happened to be a British and U.S. intelligence asset among a bazillion other things. You know, author of Brave New World. He definitely needs a deep dive. Now, the humanistic and transpersonal therapy was groundbreaking at that time. And there is no way that Linda, Courtney's mom, would not have come in contact with these individuals. I mean, considering she is practicing this brand new type of therapy in the same state at the same time. Now, of course, there is no documented proof that she had contact with any of these people. But how much circumstantial evidence do we need? And let's suspend reality for a second. Now, let's assume that Linda was surrounded by these individuals who were pioneering this new brand of psychology that she was practicing. Who else was also really, really into this type of psychology? You guessed it, intelligence agencies. And let's just pretend that Linda and these professionals and intelligence agencies are all connected. I then find it very ironic that her daughter, Courtney Love, during the 80s and 90s, was able to possess large amounts of LSD and heroin and was traveling the world handing them out to punk and grunge musicians. And then ironically ends up marrying one of the most influential musicians at that time, whose death, let's be honest, is still a mystery to this day. In my opinion, the cloud of suspicion connecting the agency and Kurt Cobain's death is not very far-fetched at all. I plan on doing a long-form deep dive on this subject, and you can find it here. I'll let you know when I post it. Thoughts?
Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Ronald Irvin. Viewer discretion is advised. This case takes us to Augusta, Georgia, and unfortunately, I have virtually no information about this case. But what I do know is that Ronald Lamont Irvin was born on July 29th, 1965, and he was born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. He graduated high school in 1983, and then he proudly joined the U.S. Army where he served. And then after that, when he came back, he would end up joining the Sheriff's Department, specifically for Richmond County Sheriff's Department there in Augusta. By the time this case occurred, though, he was no longer a sheriff's deputy. Ronald, who was very devout in his faith, was also an incredibly generous person. He would give anything to anyone as long as he had it. He always seemed to have a smile on his face, and he always made a very good impression with everybody he met. Ronald also had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. This takes us to December 13th, 2011. I don't know the exact address because it's not listed, but it says he lived on Naples Drive in Augusta, so I'm just assuming it's this here. I'm surprised with this being 2011 that there really isn't a lot of info about it. I can't even find newspaper articles. But at around 1 o'clock in the morning on December 13th, 2011, Ronald's sister, who I guess they lived together, would be awoken by a very loud noise. And what it was actually somebody violently kicking in the front door of the house. Then she hears gunshots going off. And by the time she gets out to see what's going on, she sees Ronald, her brother, on the ground. And he has been shot, and whoever did this is no longer there. Again, this is a guy who even neighbors said that if you asked him for something, he would give it. So if this was some sort of random home invasion and maybe they were robbing him, he would have just given them whatever they wanted. And this guy that the neighborhood called Uncle Ronnie, this man who served 2 tours in Iraq, was just gunned down, and nobody knows why. Why did somebody beat down the door of his home and shoot him right in his chest? Unfortunately, the only update they've ever said ever is that there is no update. There is no new information at all. And that's all the information there is about this case. Someone kicked down his door, shot him, and then fled. No motive, no idea who did this, nothing. But somebody somewhere out there has got to know the truth about who did this and why. and perhaps that someone is you. If you have any information on this case, you are asked to please call 706-821-1000. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case.
I'm just going to show you guys the difference between clones and skin masks that are going around because the world is a stage and everything is not what you think it is.
Humans made to order, mothers giving birth to themselves, babies conceived just so their body parts can be transplanted. Come with me into the scary new world of cloning. The nightmarish stuff of science fiction has suddenly become a reality.
The first baby clone is born. She was born yesterday at 11:55 a.m. in the country where she was born. So this will not give you more details about the location. She's fine. We call her Eve.
My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonate in Canada. My model number is 0112568, if anyone wants to see the registration in Clonate. When I was cloned, they wiped a lot of memory, but when I stole the documents before escaping, I read that the mother was Puerto Rican and I guess the father, surrogate, you could say, was the sperm donor was the Sicilian.
I think you have my head on a stick. Oh my God.
That's scary.
Just me, or what is this creature that doesn't breathe and has fish gills or something weird?
Arian Foster recently said on a podcast the NFL is scripted. So we decided to ask players what was their script they got when they were drafted.
My script was that they told me that I was going to tear my ACL my rookie year, and I was actually kind of mad when I saw that, you know. Like, I read my script, and it said, listen, you're going to tear your ACL the last regular season game. And I was sad because that means I missed the Super Bowl and wasn't able to play it.
My script, it was pretty long. I didn't know if I was going to make the league because, you know, trying to learn something like that was pretty tough.
Say my script been pretty crazy because this is my 4th year in the NFL, and I've been to 3 Super Bowls. So when I walked in of day one, they was like, this what they handed me. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take that one right there. Yeah, I'm gonna take the 3 appearances in full.
I mean, my script was supposed to be making $100 million, but it didn't happen that way, so they lied to me.
The NFL is scripted. According to Arian Foster, it's scripted. And it brings me back to Super Bowl 51 when we're down 28-3. We're in the locker room, and they throw us the script for this amazing comeback. I'm sitting here like, these writers are out of their mind. No one's going to believe this. Right. And we went out and executed, and you know, it looked good. And then the next year, I saw on the script in March that I had to tear my ACL going forward, miss the 2017 season.
You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe. Once they lose trust in their leaders, in mainstream media, in political institutions, in each other, in the possibility of truth, the game's won.
All of a sudden, we were given this free thing from the Society of America. 78% of your free clinics were placed in black and urban areas for the purpose of something free of charge. As to put it in words of one pro, we don't need so many Negroes anymore. There's no more cotton to pick. These feelings about black people, this was one way of doing it as a social benefit, if you will. We're here to help you. Black women, and let it be stated, black women never demonstrated, demanded, or even requested the right to an been asking for the right to decent housing, the right to education, and that's the
Dang.
right to health care. And all we've been given free of charge is the right to kill our unborn child.
In 1993, the government started spraying our grain source with folic acid. Guess what went on the rise? Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, gut medication.
So we're worth more to them sick.
Oh, for sure. You know, they came up with the folic acid, really it's folate, which prevents neural tube defects in pregnant women. So that's why you hear when women are pregnant, they're supposed to take high doses of folic acid. That's fine if you don't have an MTHFR genetic mutation. If you do, then folic acid really is what's causing postpartum depression. It happened to me. And couldn't figure out why. I was like, my child is healthy, I am happy, I'm thrilled. Why am I crying in the shower and comparing out of bed? And as soon as I stopped taking the prenatal vitamin, it all went away. And so then your doctor blames it on the hormones. In reality, if postpartum depression was hormone related, then all pregnant women would have postpartum depression, but we don't.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
No, Michelle is a...
I'm sorry, she's a what?
We all know.
Oh my gosh.
When all those people were saying plant-based meat is the future, like, it is. It's really bad for you. You're way better off buying cows and eating cows than you are buying corn. Because in order to grow a stalk of corn, a lot has to die. And if you're using monocrop agriculture and using industrialized farming methods and you're controlling enormous swaths of land with only one crop, that is totally unnatural, doesn't exist anywhere in nature. And in order to do that, you have to poison everything else. You have to kill all the animals, you have to poison the land, you have to strip the topsoil, you have to use industrialized fertilizer. You can't grow things that way normally.
That the key to understanding where you live is right in front of your eyes. I will show you now what it is that you're looking at and what you don't see. The image of the moon contains the map of the Earth. In fact, it looks like it's the only true map of the world. Mirrored, distorted, and sketchy, but beyond a shadow of the doubt, perfectly accurate in reflecting all the continents and their right proportions. It takes a bit of time to see it and to get used to it, because it requires a lot of internal effort to overcome a lifetime of conditioning and to believe that what you're being taught from birth is not true. But if you have an open mind and if you're curious about what you're looking at, you will realize that this is not the first time you've seen it, and that somebody might know this truth too, but they don't want to disclose it to you.
Our water is being poisoned with fluoride and heavy metals. Our food is fake, the weather is being manipulated, clouds are actually created to block the sun, and that chemtrails actually kill people. Our government actually stands for mind control, and that big events are actually staged to keep us distracted from the real truth. Artists and people of power actually practice rituals at these events without the fans actually knowing. When a doctor gives you a shot, he actually gets a bonus. Now, they don't do that for chemotherapy, so why do they do that for shots? And that war in our military is actually used to decrease the population. Yeah. How do you explain that to people?
The government tried to break the firmament. In 1962, after Operation High Jump and the Arctic Treaty was signed, the government started a new project called Operation Fishbowl. The United States did a series of high-altitude nuclear tests where they would shoot nuclear missiles straight up into the sky. The reason for doing this was because they wanted to see what would happen if a nuke was set off in the atmosphere. You would think that one time would be enough, but they did this test 11 times.
11?
Making people theorize that they were doing it for other reasons. Some believe that this was the government's attempt to break through the firmament. Not to mention the name of the project, Operation Fishbowl. Why would they shoot a series of missiles in air to see how high they can blow up? Do you think the government was trying to break through the firmament?
This is the video that Bill Gates put together, along with the team, complete with simulated news reports like this. This is really what they're preparing for us. This video is called Get Ready. Watch.
Never seen this before.
Catastrophic contagion of global challenge. Breaking news.
Two Latin American countries alerted the WHO of several outbreaks of a new infectious disease that's mysteriously appearing across the region. Severe epidemic enterovirus respiratory syndrome 2025.
Oh, so that's the name, guys. Just write this down. That'll be the name of it, okay? It's SEERS. It's going to be called the Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome, and 2025 is when we'll see it, okay? Now, it says at the bottom this is a fictional scenario, but come on.
A bill in Tennessee would require any food with a to have a clear label.
Senator Tammy Nichols proposed a similar bill in Idaho.
Basically, for the consumer, what we're looking at is just providing notification of the presence of materials that are within the product. So I do know of mRNA is one that they are looking at trying to add into right now lettuce for public consumption.
In 2019, the NIH website stated, in broken English by the way, at present edible are developed for veterinary and human use, but the main challenge faced by edible is its acceptance by the population so that it is necessary to make aware the society about its use and benefits.
I learned something new about the film Idiocracy today, which if you've never seen it, shame on you. It's almost 20 years old now, and it's a hilarious movie about a dystopian future where American society has evolved to the point where everybody is just a complete idiot. Apparently the costume designer in this film didn't have a big budget, and she needed shoes for the characters to wear, and she wanted shoes that looked futuristic but also really stupid. She found this small startup company that was making shoes, and they weren't like out in the world yet. She was like, these shoes are perfect because they look ridiculous. And Mike Judge, the producer of the movie, was like, well, what if by the time the movie comes out, you know, this company is big and these shoes are popular and people are actually wearing them? The costume designer was like, are you kidding? These are ridiculous. Nobody's ever actually going to wear these shoes. Look at them. Guys, those shoes that appeared in the movie were Crocs. Just normal Crocs. We're all wearing idiot shoes. I'm part of the problem. Wow. I have 2 pairs and 3 more pairs on my wish list. I don't know if that's common knowledge for fans of the movie, but I read that for the first time today and just cracked up laughing.
A class action lawsuit because a lab test found these chemicals in this beverage at many hundreds of times the maximum upper recommendation of the FDA, being sued, and you didn't hear. So Coca-Cola Company makes something called Simply Orange. It's an orange juice that is nationwide. Most children drink this stuff. And the potential of cancer-causing chemicals being consumed has been going on for months, and we haven't heard.
These soaps that you using is toxic as hell. It got chemicals in it just for a good smell. And y'all wonder why y'all skin be up. Acne and rashes, these soap leave you bumpy up. We is not with Dow. It's full of acid and you wipe it all on your mouth. Look at this and Dove soap. Give me a trash can. I'm throwing it out. Ivory, that poison ivy. That is a soap that not buying. Irish Spring is full of titanium. I might as well wash with a rock of vibranium. Olay, ingredients, sorry not okay. How is this legal? I'm calling the police. Got these in your house, you need to throw it away. Yeah, it smell good, but look what them hosts. What is your favorite soap? Give us an option, cause they trying to kill us. I'm filing a lawsuit.
Check this out. Look how they make clouds.
Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, clouds. The cleanest.
Now I want y'all to listen to what he says at the end of the video.
Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you.